So here's not a repair video, but more of a modification video. I got this new dehumidifier. It's a, what brand is it again? Cheap brand from a bulk retailer. Anyway, I don't know who actually makes it as the original brand, but it's just restickered as their own, I believe. Anyway, it's quite a horrible design as far as, I mean, it runs perfectly fine. It does the job really well, and I think the tank holds about 3 litres. But they've put this window in the tank, yet it's completely useless. If you don't have light inside of a container, object, room, if there's no light in it, no light can get out, and therefore you can't see anything. As is the case here, even with the sun shining on it, which I can't show you at the moment, but just trust me. Would you believe that this is actually half full? How about now? There you go. You can actually see the water level is there. Not like that. Give you a bit better look. There you go. Perfectly crystal clear. Half full. Now you see it. Now you don't. Now you see it. Now you don't. So all they needed to do was just have a little light in there. It doesn't even need to be that bright. Yeah, it's just so much better. There you go. It's a bit hard to see on camera, I guess, but you know, it's really good in person anyway. But yeah, there's our level. It's pretty useless because you got no idea where it's at, and it just annoys me. I know it's got an alarm and it'll shut off when it's full, but that's not the point. I should be able to glance at it and see how well it's doing. I'm going to have a crack at putting an LED in this. Or 2. Now there is lots of room up under this top edge to have an LED, and it won't interfere with the bucket sliding in. So I think we start with screws there, a couple at the top, and just see how easily this thing comes apart. Hopefully pretty straightforward, and it'll be a nice easy spot to attach a power feed to it, because there are lights on the top panel. Maybe we can run off the same feed as one of those. That pops off. Standard looking construction. You've got your cooling plate, and then the heat transferred to the one in the back. So this one's cold. As the moist air goes over it, it sticks to it, the moisture drips off and gets collected. Basically how it works. Got a little compressor in there, like just a fridge really. You can get a better look of those two there. Yeah, I'm thinking this top section here, I might be able to get that off. A bunch more screws later, this might come off. Something holding it there. It'll swing out at the bottom. One there. One over that side. There we go. Let's see if our control box pops open easily. We have to undo that screw. Oh, look at that. Pretty handy of them to label the board. We've got plus 5 volts there. And this end we've got plus 5 volts. And so this little switching supply. The fan and the compressor are of course a 230 AC. So there's not much to happen as far as controlling that other than a couple of relays. But a little 5 volt supply up to the top board for the switch pad, and down to the humidity sensor. This is the humidity sensor, has its own. This black wire goes to, that's the float switch, so it knows when it's full. Interesting. Okay, so that may not be a suitable source. It just depends how that's being switched. So I think I was mistaken before, but here's the lead that goes up to the top board. It also has 5 volts written up at one end. So what I'm going to do, since that plug is so well put together, now let's just see if the 5 volt line there is connected to all the other 5 volt lines. It'll give us an idea as to whether it's can withstand a little bit of current. We're only asking 30 milliamps for an LED though, not much. But if it's just a low 5 volt out of a micro for a sensor, then we don't want to pull on that. That appears to be tied together. Okay, so all the 5 volt lines are joined. We can tee off one of those. The switch must be just passing 5 volts through to the other side to let it know it's full. I think we could probably use that. So I just noticed here an unpopulated header marked Wi-Fi. So this could have a Wi-Fi module and option, and S motor. I wonder what that's for. So this has the same 5 volt ground, and then it's got a TX and RX. So we could just stick a couple of wires into there, and we don't have to modify any of this. That'd work. I have to be able to undo this, of course, in case I ever have to claim warranty. Good old warranty. I'm sure this won't fail anytime soon. So let's pop the board out, and then we can look at attaching wires, find a place to route them. I think if I follow the same lead as the humidity sensor, because that just runs down along here and here, and then there's a bit of a gap, so we'll be able to run wires out this gap and to some LEDs quite easily. Right, so here's the gap at the top of the collection bin, and I'm thinking what better use of a old backlight LEDs from a TV, LCD TV, and that will sit up under there just fine, and there's heaps of room above this tray. So I've cut off a piece with 2 LEDs. They have to bridge across the traces at one end because they're in series, and then if I put a little bit of power on that, let's see how bright they are with 5 volts. Now I've got no current limiting, there's no resistor, it's just two LEDs, and we'll just see how good they look as they stand. Not really much there at all, is there? If this thing's only generating 5 volts though, I'm going to have to go for a different option, because these LEDs, obviously really high brightness, they must be quite a high forward bias. I might just tack a wire onto it, see if there's enough ambient light to see once it's all sort of together and enclosed in darkness. There might be enough of a glow to do what I want to do without lighting up the room with it. No, that's a bit that's a bit weak. That's not going to do it, and I've got all the lights turned off. Okay, this will be brighter because it's one LED. Let's see how that's going to go. I'll have to turn the voltage down first, and we'll find out what's it going to be like, and if it's not pulling too much current, or if we need to put a resistor on there as well. Here we go. That's better. That's much better. So that's 3 volts. Oh, that was a lot of current. Whoops. That was a couple of amps. Didn't watch that, did I? that's 90 milliamps, and I can't, that's going to be plenty. So I need to just work out a suitable resistance to knock that back a bit and then go from there. Okay, how's this? It's brighter, but it's not what I thought it would be. Smaller resistor. Okay, let's see how we're doing. So I've gone with a 560 ohm, and that's running at 40 milliamps at 5 volts, and I can show you that now. There you go. It's certainly a lot better. So if we pop that in the tank, there we go. So quite obvious. I think that's going to work really well. I'm thinking if we mount it just straight up, it's a flat surface, and straight up there in the middle. I'm not entirely sure if that's used tape or new tape. Uh-oh. And I just did something really stupid. I just popped the lens off the top of the LED. They're not on there very strong. I'll just super glue that back on. Nah, I'll need some better tape. But yeah, if you push on them the wrong way, they just come off. That's alright, we can glue that back on. We've got some new tape on it now. Glued the lens back on. Let's see if we can do that again. It probably wouldn't matter if the lens came off, to be honest, because it's going to be plenty bright in the enclosure. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. And we'll run the wire along and out through a gap like maybe this gap here. By the humidity sensor is probably a good way to go. So let's gently, I might just remove this and then I can tuck it in behind. So if I come up and I come up and around, and we'll go in behind the clip. Oh, actually there's not a lot of plastic to work with there. Maybe if I come up over the post, that's probably a good way to go. And then if that's set back in position, it's going to be tucked in over the back here between the clip and the post. And it can run over the back. We'll tuck it around and in the same channel as the power feed to the humidity sensor. Now what I actually did with this is it's two individual strands that I twisted up together. I just put one end in a vise and the other end in a drill chuck, and spun the drill and put a nice twist through the cable just to help hold it all together. And there's a little notch in the frame that can hold it, and then that's going to go around to our PCB. Alright, there's a little notch in the side, so I'm just following that. We're going to pass it down and attach it right here where it says Wi-Fi. Keep in mind it has to enter the front cover up the top right where that hole is, so it's going to have to just make sure where all that's going. That's about there, where the rest of them are sort of bunched and pinched, so it has to come in there. And here's the back side of the board, and this is the Wi-Fi connector, and from bottom we've got 5 volts and then ground, and of course remembering which wire you hooked up to positive on the LED. There it goes. Now we'll get that ground wire in. Oh, alright, that was a fight. Finally got it through the hole. A little bit of the old flux. Okay, I think we're good. And that's how it looks. All attached under there. Now all we have to do is plug it in and see what happens. Now this is going to be on as long as this machine is plugged in, which isn't a great deal because everything else is basically running in a standby fashion if not. So I don't usually leave it turned on anyway when I'm not using it. Here we go. Ta-da! So the beeping is just to say there's no water container. Cool. Right, well that's ready to go. Let's pop it back together. Well, you come home from a long hard day, the dehumidifier's been going all day long, and you wonder, how much water has it collected? Well, what do you know? It's half full. It's the simple things. You should be able to see that hopefully on camera. Mission accomplished. And yeah, now I can just glance and see how efficient it is, and you know, you get an idea as to how quickly it's filling up over time, even though you've got a humidity meter to let you know if it's at a reasonable level. But if it's pulling it out and increasing quickly, it's nice to know, isn't it? Everything's better with an LED. Now if only I had that Wi-Fi module.